Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me today for this Batman 1966 review. I am going to be reviewing select Season 2 and 3 episodes that stand out for any number of particular reasons. Today I am going to be talking about Season 2, Episode 51, A Piece of the Action. This was an episode that was requested and shown some interest in by a few of my viewers, so I thank you very much for that. And I think the reason A Piece of the Action stands out is pretty obvious. This is the only other episode, I believe, in the series, this two-parter, where there is another hero involved. We have Van Williams as the Green Hornet and Bruce Lee as his sidekick, Kato. We also have Roger C. Carmel as the villain, Colonel Gumm. And I have to say, he's probably the weak link of this episode. Colonel Gumm is an okay villain, but he's not nearly as interesting or good as some of the other villains on the show. But the presence of the Green Hornet and Kato more than make up for this. So the main plot of this episode about some counterfeit stamps isn't necessarily that interesting, in my opinion. It's kind of mediocre, but it works here. There's also a side character, the henchwoman, as you want to call her, Miss Pinkston, and she's pretty great. I enjoyed her in the episode as well. What's also interesting about this episode is that the Green Hornet is seen as a villain and not as a hero by the Commissioner. So this episode starts out with a scene where we get the Green Hornet and Kato, and right away the episode has a very different feel to it, I have to say. Then we get the normal exposition scenes in the Commissioner's office, but the Green Hornet is there as his alter ego, Burt Reed, and this livens the normal proceedings up a little bit. Then we go to Colonel Gumm, who we find out is plotting to steal some rare stamps. We don't really know more than that. What's interesting is that Miss Pinkston seems to think this is a legitimate business, so she's not really a villain, at least I don't believe so in this episode. Partway through the episode, we get a lunch date with Bruce Wayne, Britt Reed, and Miss Pinkston, and the three characters have good chemistry between them. And although there's this weird scene where some models hit on Bruce Wayne, she gives her phone number or something. I thought this was kind of amusing, but also kind of strange. Then we get more setup with Colonel Gumm in disguise. Not a very good disguise. It's funny, but it's pretty easy to see it's him. And that is my one complaint about this episode. There's a little bit too much setup and not enough happening. I was actually surprised at how much exposition was in this episode, but most of it was interesting. So at this point, we get basically to the climax of the episode where Miss Pinkston knows everything that's happening. So Colonel Gumm locks her up. Then we get a showdown with all our main characters. Basically, the Green Hornet and Kato invade Gumm's lair, and they pretend like they're playing along with him. But Colonel Gumm double crosses them, of course, and throws them into this stamp making machine. More on that in a few minutes. Obviously, the Green Hornet and Kato aren't too much better at staying out of trouble than Batman and Robin are. At the end of part 1 of a normal episode, I'm just saying. So then Batman and Robin come in, the normal fight ensues. This fight's pretty good. It's probably a little bit above the norm for this show. But of course, they get in trouble as well. They get stuck to the wall on some kind of wallpaper. It's pretty strange. So Colonel Gumm has everybody in trouble. This guy's a little more resourceful than he at first appears, I guess. But basically, Batman and Robin watch as this giant Green Hornet stamp comes out of the machine, which actually looks pretty realistic. I thought it looked pretty good. It's actually a bit disturbing as well. So, as usual, the heroes are all in trouble, and it will be interesting to see how they get out of all this trouble. So, this was an interesting episode overall, definitely above average, mostly due to some extra heroes being added into the fray. But I did think this episode was actually a little bit too exposition heavy. And even though there's a lot going on, the scenes don't totally flow, but this is definitely a unique episode with a lot of personality. And I thought the ending, the cliffhanger, was much better than normal. So overall, I'm going to give A Piece of the Action a 3.5 out of 5. And I look very much forward to watching and reviewing the second half of the episode, which will be coming up very soon. So 3.5 out of 5 for A Piece of the Action. And as always, thank you very much for watching.